Hi guys, welcome back to Harry Makes Up. Today I have a very beautiful model with me. Her name is Julia and we thought we'd show you how to create the editorial glossy eye look. So this has been all over the catwalks. It's still a big strong trend for autumn winter 17 as well. And I wanted to show you guys how to kind of create the editorial version. So this is the products I would use, the techniques that I've been using on editorials, and I want to show you how to create the look. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. So the first thing I'm going to use on beautiful Julia is the Nanoblur, and this is kind of like part skin treatment, part primer. So I really like this just as a subtle kind of blur perfecting tool. And I'm just going to use this before I put on any foundation. So I'm going to use a little bit of this through the T-zone, just to smooth out. It's really good to use around the nose as well, especially if you have any redness or any kind of open pores. You can just use that. It's a nice base. So I know I keep using this one in videos at the minute, guys, but it's just because I'm totally obsessed with it still in my pro kit. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder foundation, and I'm going to use the shade 1 on Julia. You do have to shake it really, really well. It does separate a little bit, but I think that's because it has large amounts of water in it, so it's very, very gentle on the skin. And I'm just going to use a Zoeva, this is the Luxe Highlight Brush. And I'm just going to buff a little bit of that onto Julia's skin. It has a very, very natural feel, this foundation, which is why I love using it. And it feels very comfortable to wear as well. And I'm just using a little bit extra coverage just in the areas where the skin needs it. So just a little bit more in the T-zone or around the nose, just to give that a little bit more coverage. And I'll do more kind of spot concealing later. I just want to get a nice even base. And because the glossy eye is such kind of statement focus, I think you really want it to look like skin on the rest of the face. So just really natural looking. Okay, so foundation on. I'm going to do a bit of redness covering now, and for me I always go back to the Nars Radiant Creamy Concealer. So we're going to use a little bit of that just on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to do some spot concealing and a little bit under the eyes as well. So just taking a Real Technique setting brush, if you just look up for me, yeah, that's it. Just start with a little bit under the eyes, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of that over the top redness on the nose, just to even out the skin tone. So I'm only using coverage where it's needed. Now I'm just going to take a really tiny brush, so something like an art shop brush, and just do any pinpoint concealing I might need to. So just going over those and then just dabbing with the Real Techniques brush, so it just buffs it in really, really gently. And then you've got a really nice clean skin. I'm not going to add any powder until the end. And I'm actually not going to use mascara today. So like I said, I'm doing this more an editorial take on the glossy eye, but I am going to curl lashes. So if you just look right down for me, darling, so I'm just going to give the lashes a little curl. It also looks great though as well without curling the lashes, but I think it just opens the eyes up a little bit more. And then I'm going to do a little bit of work on the brow before I do the gloss. So I like to start with the spoolie just to give the brows a little groom. And I really like that Julia's brow is slightly darker than her hair colour. So I am going to add a little bit more to it. And I'm going to take the NYX brow pencil in Ash Brown and just run a little bit of that through her eyebrows. You see there's just those little gaps there that just need a little bit of filling in, but I'm using a very, very soft hand. And just keep grooming them through as you go along. So brows on, ready for the fun part. And I was trying to decide which kind of gloss I would show you guys today, because I feel like what I can do is show you kind of the clear glosses you would have seen on my Instagram and then bring it up to the more intense colours. So I'm going to start with this one by MAC. It's Lightly Tauped. Such a beautiful colour. It's got kind of little reflects of like purples and pinks and blue within this kind of taupe tone. Now, I will say when you use these kind of glosses, because they're so sticky, they have a tendency to really kind of clump your brush together. So I recommend either using a brush that is not an expensive brush, or use your finger. So if you lift your head that way, that's it, and close your eye for me. So I'm going to start putting it onto the lid. And you know, it really is, it's quite an easy technique. There's not really a lot of skill involved with this, guys. Try to avoid getting too much onto the eyelashes. And then building it up, and it is such a pretty and fun take on an editorial eye. I mean, this would be a really fun look for a festival as well. You can definitely get away with this for a festival look. And then I start to round it up as it gets towards the top of the eye, because you have to remember with gloss, it's never going to be something that's as easy to blend. So you can see how it's kind of a square shape on the outer corner. What I can do now is almost use my finger to smooth it a little bit at the edges. So So I literally just take my finger and start to smooth it up a little bit and just tap on that outer corner. But with gloss, it's definitely a harder product to blend. And I do find with the gloss, I prefer it more on the top lids than I do on the bottom. I think it's just very, very difficult to keep it in one place when it's on the bottom lid. Sorry, under the lash line, I mean, on the lower lash line. And this is the same technique I used when I did the beauty shoot for Elle Indonesia. So it's very, very easy, but incredibly effective. So then I just take my finger, just start to smooth the edges in a little bit, and then just kind of tap the outside. It's very fantasy looking, which is very fun. And I'll take you back to camera, darling. So hopefully the camera will pick this up. I think it will be a case of opening and closing the eyes, and as you kind of move around, you get to see them more. And it will pick up those kind of other kind of glittery colors and sheens, which are really, really pretty. So before I change the color, I'll kind of finish the look so you can see it just with the eye as is. So for me, again, I don't really use too much powder with this kind of look, but I will use a tiny bit just to set under the eyes. So I'm going to take some Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Concealer. And if you look up for me, Dan. Just a little bit under the eyes. I'm not going to do any mascara because that's just, I think it just doesn't need it. And I'm just going to use it a little bit to set around the nose. And then I'm going to do a little bit of cream blush instead of anything more powder based, because I want that feeling of natural skin to kind of complement the really intense eye. So I'm just going to use a bit of this nude blush by Lizelle, which is really pretty. And I'm just going to take that on a MAC 168 brush. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to the cheek, because I think the eye, you can still take a little bit of blush, but it's not contoury, it's not really adding too much shape, it's just giving that nice flush. And just look back to the camera for me. So just that little bit of very, very subtle definition. Now, I think it's up to you as well. If you're doing a glossy eye, obviously you can go with a matte skin, which is really nice and contrast, or you can kind of really take that sheen into the rest of the makeup. One product I've been loving as well in my kit at the minute is the Ciaté Dewy stick. It's very similar to the Pat McGrath kind of highlighter sticks actually, in that it's just a sheen. There's not really any colour in it, which I love, and I really love this on the tops of cheekbones. So I'm just going to use that on Yulia and just kind of pat that with my finger. And then it can kind of go into the eye gloss as well. So it just works in harmony with it. And there's kind of less separation than in the actual gloss. It's such a pretty product. And just tapping that in with my finger. And take a little bit onto the lip. Now, because I don't want to disturb any of the redness that we've covered on the nose, that's the one place I won't put it. I'll just choose to put the tiniest bit onto the bridge instead. So for lips, I think, again, I prefer the look feeling much more, just not too try hard with the rest of the makeup. I'm doing a glossy eye for an editorial. So I'm going to take some lipsticks. These are ones I melted down by Tom Ford. So I'm just going to use a little bit of blush nude, I think, just on my finger, just to give the lip a little bit of colour, but a subtle amount. I'm actually going to use a lip brush, I think. This is just a really complimentary, really, really nice nude on pale skin as well. And I'm not really going to change the shape of Yulia's lips or anything like that. I just want to give that a little bit of colour. And I'm using the Shimmer lip brush as well, just to give a little bit of extra shape to the top of the Cupid's bow. So for me, that's kind of where I would leave it if I was going to do it for an editorial, and just have that really nice kind of sheeny, editorial looking eye, and just keep the rest of the skin very, very simple, but very, very elegant and chic. So I'm also going to show you as well, guys, if you were to apply a brighter hue, which has been everywhere over the catwalks at the minute. It's still big for autumn winter 17 as well. This is another MAC eye gloss, and this is in the shade Next Up Neon. And this really reminds me of like Calippo Ice Lollies. It's got that really kind of sheeny, glossy orange vibe, which, like you see, it's sort of, it's not everyday wearable, but it's just such a fun look, and I really wanted to show you guys this. It's so pretty. And the great thing with these glosses is you can just layer them over another gloss, and they're very, very easy to use. So I start with a brush. You know, because it's gloss, you don't have loads of control, so you just have to kind of work it up slowly. And it's not really the kind of product you can blend, so I even quite like it when it has a sort of harsh line. So I just go backwards and forwards and make more of a graphic shape because there's more of an intense colour in this. But how cool is that? That is super amazing. Absolutely love it, it's so fun. And then you can start to layer in, so now you can like really build up the pigment if you want to. So for me, I just take a little bit more of the orange at the base of the lashes. I'm still not going to do any mascara with this look, and you can see that the shape is quite graphic, but this is just such a fun, you know, kind of tribute to the shows. So there you have it, guys. That is the editorial trend that's been all over the runways. You guys were asking for it, so I wanted to make sure I gave you a video where you could see it in action and the kind of techniques that are used at the shows as well to create this look, the products that are used, and they're just really, really fun. It's a great fun video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'd love it if you subscribe, and I'll see you soon for more.